The cane of Tantuit fell to the ground. The servants held Tantuit tightly. One of them brought a bowl of soup and smirked sinister. He grabbed Tantuit's mouth, forcing her to drink. Drink it quickly. Suddenly, the bowl of soup in his hands vanished. Both Tantuit and the servant were stunned. The soup had been snatched away by old Huang. He gulped it down in one go and then praised. "This soup is delicious. This soup truly is exquisite," he said. Young Master Quach was furious. He rushed forward and kicked old Huang. "Dog, who do you think you are to steal my soup?" Spilled all over the ground. The monk quickly ran over to help old Huang. "We are soldiers under General Qiubat." Old Huang has a troubled mind. He just loves food. Hearing this, young Master Quach's face darkened. Meanwhile, old Huang turned aside and began vomiting. Disgusted, young Master Quach stepped back and yelled. At that moment, Qiumok, wearing a hat, stepped forward and said, "Young Master Quach, who was scolding, and old Huang, who's this?" Qiumok lightly touched the brim of his hat and remarked, "The soup is really young Master Quach," but old Huang was already captivated. When they clearly saw, they were speechless. "Who are you to interrupt me?" Qiumok lightly touched the brim of his hat. "May I also have a bowl of soup?" Old Huang was extremely excited. Crying, he called out, "Captain!" Tantuit was also moved and called, "Qiumok." Young Master Quach's subordinate, Uncle Fook, the newcomer's face resembled Qiumok, and whose body lay in the coffin. Young Master Quach trembled in fear. His face drained of all color. "No way!" he shouted and rushed to the coffin. Looking inside, he saw Qiumok's body still there. He couldn't understand what was going on. Young Master Quach turned to look. Young Master Quach trembled in fear. His face was drained of all color. "No way!" He hurried to the coffin. He looked inside. Qiumok's body was still lying there. He couldn't understand what was happening. Young Master Quach turned to the newcomer. He looked exactly like Qiumok. "What is going on?" Before he could gather himself, Qiumok suddenly lunged at him. Young Master Quach was Qiumok's spear was rushing toward him. With one thrust, the hat shattered. Young Master Quach was once again scared out of his wit. Old Huang and the monk, watching from the side, were equally astonished. The servants holding Tantuit didn't even dare to breathe. Qiumok launched another attack at young Master Quach, but this time the strike was blocked by Uncle Fook. Qiumok widened his eyes. "It's you, Tiohit." His eyes turned bloodshot. Young Master Quach was so scared he looked like a lost soul. Old Huang and the monk hid in a corner, trembling. "This doesn't seem like the captain." The monk whispered, "He's fiercer than the captain and bigger too." Uncle Fook questioned, "Qiumok is dead. Who are you?" His blood vitality has been damaged, yet his attacks are this strong. Also, his face looks so much like Qiumok. At this moment, Qiumok quietly answered, "I am." Tears welled up in his eyes as he continued, "Qiumok is my younger brother." He looked deeply moved. "Qiumok is my blood brother." As he spoke, an intense aura surrounded him, showing his deep anger. "Disrespecting my brother's remains? I'll drag you down with me, even if I have to risk my life." Uncle Fook sneered upon hearing this. Such big words. But before he could finish, young Master Quach turned and fled. Uncle Fook quickly followed. "We'll settle this next time." Seeing their master run, the other servants scurried away in fear of death. Uncle Fook left reluctantly, muttering as he walked away. Qiumok's hands started throbbing in pain, blood flowing nonstop. If young Master Quach returns to the City Lord's mansion, the City Lord's special forces will surely come. "I have to seize the opportunity and die again," he said loudly, ensuring they all heard. "Tomorrow I, Qiulum, will bury my brother's remains. Qiumok, my younger brother, will rest. He will be laid to rest on Tho Mountain outside the city." Uncle Fook glanced at him, thinking, "This boy has another intention. He's leaving the city tomorrow. Perhaps we should strike then." Qiulum calmly turned and walked toward the coffin. "Ah, just in time, I'm hungry. Didn't think I'd make it back. Just in time to eat my brother's offering." The pot of soup young Master Quach brought earlier was still there. Qiulum picked up a bowl and began eating. Old Huang and the monk rushed to stop him. "You can't eat that soup. That's your brother." Old Huang, seeing Qiulum eating so heartily, held his stomach and vomited violently. He vomited until he was. Seeing this, Qiulum held up a piece of meat from the soup and explained, "This is pork liver and heart. It's not what you're thinking." And you believe that young master's words? He then looked at the coffin, pretending to mourn. Old Huang and the monk hugged each other and cried bitterly. Moreover, I heard my brother died tragically. His organs were crushed. How could he have been used for soup? He secretly glanced at the two, checking if they had noticed his act. At that moment, Tantuit stepped closer to him. She touched his shoulder and started sniffing, making Kyulum startled. Suddenly, he yelled loudly and stepped back. Seeing his reaction, Tantuit was puzzled. The scene then shifted to the Quat mansion. A loud voice echoed from within. Kyomok's vengeful spirit has appeared. Quat Nyam, hearing this, calmly turned and asked, "Isn't he grounded? What is he up to now?" At that moment, Uncle Fook respectfully entered. Fook, you went along as well? Master, please calm down. The young master was just paying respects to Kyomok's family. But, we encountered someone who looks exactly like Kyomok. He called himself Kyolum, the elder brother of Kyomok. Young Master Quach recalled the identical of the man claiming to be Kyolum. Fear drained the color from his face. Uncle Fook continued, "From my observation, Kyolum is a bit taller than Kyomok. Their appearances are identical, but their age difference is noticeable." Hearing this, Quatnyam asked, "What is Kyolum's strength?" "Probably just reached the 8th rank. His vitality is lacking, even weaker than a peak 9th rank. Nothing to worry about." He slammed his fist on the ground in frustration. Kyomok just died, and Kyolum appears. This man is not simple. The emperor is arriving soon, and times are chaotic. This city lord has no energy to deal with trivial matters. Quatnyam turned and signaled, "Uncle Fook, you go personally. Remember, if you pull weeds, pull them by the roots. They will regrow with the spring breeze." Tantuit approached Kyomok. He seemed to sense her and turned to look at her. Tantuit reached out, trying to touch him. She came closer and began to sniff. Kyomok was extremely embarrassed. "Miss, what are you doing?" He began to evade her. "Miss Tantuit, I am already 23 years old. I have 13 concubines at home, each skilled in 18 types of weapons and 36 dances, ever-changing like the weather. Please mind yourself." Hearing this, Tantuit stopped, but doubt lingered in her heart. At this moment, Old Huang stepped forward, calling, "Kyolum, my brother." He placed a bag of silver in Kyomok's hands. Kyomok asked, "My brother has been dead for only 1 day. How could the authorities act so quickly?" The monk and Old Huang scratched their heads. They were lying. Is this really the death compensation from the authorities? Of course it is. Kyomok, knowing everything, sighed as he looked at them. Looking at their expressions, this is likely money they pooled together. Thinking this, he returned the bag of silver to Old Huang and the monk. "No need for death compensation money. I don't want that filthy money from the authorities." The monk then pulled out a manual and asked, "If not money, then would you want this manual?" Before, Under General Bak, Kyomok told me that he protected me well during the bandit extermination campaign. If I made it back to Nat City, I would give him this manual as a token of gratitude. Kyomok took the manual with a delighted smile. "Hey, another technique. Great, but it's an external skill requiring restraint, iron shirt. Does this satisfy me or does it not?" The monk and Old Huang left afterward. Kyomok placed the manual inside his and turned to Tantuit. "Miss Tantuit, my brother often spoke of you. Tomorrow, I will face the city lord in a battle. I hope you can leave Nant City quickly to avoid getting involved." At this point, Tantuit leaned closer behind him and sniffed. She began to smell him all over. Kyomok suddenly put on a serious, "Young lady, you are playing with fire." He struck a heroic pose. "I, Moklum, have endured years of practicing the Iron Shield technique. I am now in my prime. Your body won't be able to handle it." Tantuit, seeing him pretending, said, "Stop acting." She exposed Kyomok. "You are deliberately spouting nonsense to confuse me. Even though I can't see, I can still see through you. Your scent, the tone of your speech, the rhythm of your words, and even your footsteps, they're all Kyomok." Kyomok, realizing he had been exposed, stopped pretending. "Blind as you are, You managed to survive in such chaotic times. You must have some skills. Miss Tuit, are you really not from the Nin family? It seems I guessed correctly. They went inside the house to talk further. So tell me, how did you manage to deceive them with your disguise? It's quite a wild tale. Kilmuk began recounting. It went something like this. During the battle, to suppress the bandits, I was severely injured and fell into enemy lines. My comrades thought I was dead. But I was fortunate to meet immortal Vung Dongha. He saved me and even helped me deceive them. An immortal practitioner, so that's how it happened. Kilmuk turned to Tantuit. I recall you mentioning every 2 days that a stranger once told you that you were born with spiritual, an extraordinary person. They wanted to take you as their disciple, but the Q family, being a martial arts lineage, refused to associate with practitioners. And now they've even acknowledged immortals. Tantuit lifted her cane and said, "My eyes are blind. I can't follow the martial path. But who knows? She stood in the wind, her hair flowing, looking like an immortal descended to earth. Perhaps I can follow the immortal path." Kilmuk smiled. Of course, you want to start a grand tale again. After one night, the Heavenly Eye Clan will rise and crush the martial saints, won't it? Tantuit stepped forward to face him and called out his name, Kilmuk. Her words suddenly left him confused. Tantuit told him to stop. She was worried. Outside this city are all Quatniam's men. He is a 6th-rank martial artist with thousands of soldiers under his command. You just reached 8th rank, and your vitality is damaged due to the enemy is not someone to be underestimated. Tantuit began delivering a heroic speech. Therefore, step back and let me handle it. Do we have to compete even to sacrifice? But she was genuinely angered by today's events. Today I realized that I have the desire for revenge, but not the strength. Exchanging a manual for your help. Yet I cannot bear to see you die because of it. Such half-hearted thoughts will never achieve successful revenge. So for this revenge, I should not rely on others. She then took out another manual from her chest. Kilmuk was immediately drawn to it. Tomorrow I will leave Nant City to seek the immortal path. Ngươi cũng không cần lại đấu với Quách Nham nữa. Ngươi vì ta mạo hiểm suýt mất mạng. Ta không thể báo đáp. Tantuit đưa quyển bí tịch cho Kilmuk. Cuốn 3 văn điệp lãng kình này tặng ngươi. Nó có thể phát ra đa trọng nội kình, khiến nội kinh không ngừng xếp chồng xếp càng cao. Tiếp đó phát huy ra ly lực siêu việt cực hạn. BA3 văn. Lẽ nào nó là? Tantuit cũng vô cùng oai phong lên tiếng. Đây là công pháp Kiều gia mà tộc ta đời đời tương truyền. Thu tay đi Kilmuk. Đây là bộ bí tịch cuối cùng của ta rồi. Kilmuk vô cùng cảm động đến nỗi rơi nước mắt. Gọi tên Tuyết tỷ. Cậu ôm lấy quyển sách rồi khóc một cách đau khổ. Tantuit thấy vậy, chỉ có chút hoảng. Không đến nỗi phản ứng lớn như vậy đâu. Đột nhiên, cậu im lặng quay đầu lại hỏi. À đúng rồi Tuyết tỷ. Có phải Lid Small T từng đáp ứng Karim? Cậu lấy ra một quyển sách khác, rồi đi đến trước mặt Kurt. Quyển Bách khoa toàn thư, lời thoại này tỷ còn chưa đọc xong, cho ta đâu. Kilmuk đưa tay ra, tỷ có đạo mà tỷ muốn theo đuổi. Ta cũng có đạo của ta. Một tay Kilmuk chống vào eo. Gió thổi lá cây bay khắp nơi. Đạo này đạo, lớn không đạt được mục đích thì không từ bỏ. Tantuit đứng im lặng một lúc. Tay cô ấy nắm chặt chiếc gậy dò đường của mình. Được ta ở trong miếu hoang ngoại thành. Đợi ngươi 7 ngày. Tantuit giọng nói nhẹ nhàng. Sau 7 ngày mà ngươi không đến, cô ấy vuốt tóc không? Nếu ngươi đến chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau khởi hành. Kilmuk vui vẻ rời đi. Trên tay cậu lúc này là hộp tro cốt của chính bản thân mình. Ta đưa tang ta tâm tình rất vui vẻ không? Cậu liền sửa lại rồi khuôn mặt đau thương quỳ xuống, vừa đào đất vừa khóc. Ở phía xa có một bóng người đang âm thầm quan sát nhất cử nhất động của cậu. Đệ đệ à, ngươi xuống dưới. Để ta một mình trên thế gian này, ta phải làm sao đây? Kilmuk vừa đau vừa không ngừng khóc lóc. The man called Phukthuk began putting on gloves. His gaze turned vicious. In a flash, he leapt from the cliff. He quickly appeared behind Kilmuk. Kilmuk turned and threw the urn of ashes. It hit Phukthuk, who was trying to ambush, clutched his face in pain, shouting, "My eyes!" Both his eyes turned bloodshot. Is this cremated ashes mixed with lime powder? But it's your brother's ashes. Q-Mok ignored him and launched an attack. This is called brothers united in battle, he said, delivering a decisive blow. He thrust his spear, piercing Fuktuk's stomach. Die, you scoundrel! Seeing the system notification, Q-Mok was satisfied. So the setting of not fearing strong enemies. My courageous resistance is acknowledged. If so, then give me more rewards. Fuktuk, gravely injured, spat out. Q-Mok's attack sent him flying backward. But he still tried to fight back. He delivered a powerful kick to just a mere 8th rank. Even blind, I can destroy you. The force of the kick shattered Q-Mok's ribs. With another kick, he sent Q-Mok tumbling into the ravine. Q-Mok spat blood, but looked incredibly satisfied. He gave a thumbs up. Thank you, brother. Fuktuk looked down from the cliff. His injured eyes could now only barely open one. 2 insignificant brothers dare defy Yan City's lord? Eradicating them is too easy. Satisfied with the results, he turned to leave. I should report back now. Suddenly, someone appeared before him. Fuktuk, startled, looked ahead. Q-Mok stood there, clutching his... Did you think Kyo family has no one left? He said, advancing step by step. At that moment, a mysterious power radiated from him. Fuktuk raised his hands defensively. So there's a twin brother who came here as well? Luckily, I acted quickly. Otherwise, I would have to face both of them at once. Q-Mok immediately used the technique, Heavenly Demon Dissolution. He leapt forward, directly attacking Fuktuk. Fuktuk swiftly dodged to the side. Heavenly Demon Dissolution again? He used his sleeve to entangle Q-Mok's leg. Fuktuk counterattacked. Do all members of the Kyo family wish to die like this? You're only at the early 8th rank. Even if I exhaust myself, I can kill you. Blood splattered again as Q-Mok was struck down and fell into the ravine once more. Fuktuk watched as Q-Mok's body fell, breathing a sigh of relief. Is that it? But unexpectedly, Q-Mok appeared behind him again and said, "Hello, Fuktuk, turn around." Seeing that familiar face, he was startled. Q-Mok, hands on his hips, smiled brightly. Here we meet again. Spring has come, and Q-Mok has been reborn anew. Fuktuk began doubting his reality. In his mind, countless questions emerged. Is he a twin brother? A mutant? A demon? Or is there another immortal cultivator here? Or have I fallen under some illusion? An illusion spell. He looked at Q-Mok. Am I still in my right mind? At that moment, the wound on his stomach, inflicted earlier by Q-Mok, began to throb painfully. He shouted, "Stop pretending to be a ghost." Q-Mok charged forward to attack again. Fuktuk immediately took his stance. Do you think disguising as the same person will confuse my mind? Q-Mok said nothing, and directly used Heavenly Demon Dissolution again. Fuktuk shouted, why do you Q family members always rely on Heavenly Demon Dissolution? Aren't you afraid of death? Are you all even human? Q-Mok didn't have time to before he was struck and sent flying again. Fuktuk immediately delivered a critical blow. Q-Mok spat out blood. Fuktuk struck again, pushing him into the ravine. After the battle, Fuktuk was visibly exhausted. He panted heavily. It must be an illusion, all fake. It's all fake. Q-Mok reappeared behind him. He used the Heavenly Demon Dissolution again. Fuktuk turned around, shouting, "You won't mess with my mind." He charged forward, determined to end it. Die for me. After several exchanges, Q-Mok thought, Fuk, you're a master indeed. Getting killed by you multiple times, both scores are C rank, and the rewards are generous. Too bad. Last time, I already dropped down a rank. Farming points is too obvious. Well, he received another heavy blow straight to his chest. If you're no longer of use to me, and you keep trying to eradicate me completely, Q-Mok grabbed his spear and stabbed Fuktuk in the side. Then I won't spare you either. He pressed the spear deeper and deeper. but Phukthuk managed to push him away. Kyumok was thrown far back. Phukthuk gasped in pain. No matter whether you are one person or not, whether you're human or a ghost, I'll ensure you'll never be able to come back to life. As he finished speaking, Kyumok appeared behind him again. He grabbed Phukthuk tightly and leapt into the ravine. Let me tell you a ghost story. Kyumok laughed maniacally. I've refreshed. My resurrection counter resets every 7 days. Remaining resurrections, 5 out of 5. With that, he plunged down the ravine, taking Phukthuk screamed and struggled. Let me go! You madman! Phukthuk continued to attack, causing Kyumok to spit blood. He kept yelling, let me go! Phukthuk grabbed Kyumok's hand, trying to pry him off. Let me go! Kyumok held him tighter and tighter. He wasn't going to let him escape. At this moment, he used his legs to wrap around Phukthuk's waist. He squeezed tighter and tighter. If I don't have my hands, I'll use my legs. There's no way you're escaping. Phukthuk's consciousness began to fade from the choking, but as he neared the ground, he managed to make a move. Kyumok's body fell into the ravine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Phukthuk gritted his teeth. Nothing went the way I expected. Both of them hit the ground with a heavy thud. Nearby, 2 wolves watched. They stared blankly. Food fell from the sky. Is this a gift from the heavens? And so Kyumok perished together with Phukthuk. Once again, Kyumok revived, standing on the cliff. Kyumok stretched contentedly. The mission is complete. He looked at the system stats and was surprised. Hey, why is it only a D-? My skill growth is almost non-existent. Kyumok examined himself. Still stuck at mid-level 8th rank, not even a trace of a Chi-Si vortex. As expected, the higher the rank, the harder it is to break. A moment later, the system displayed a notification. Congratulations, host, for unlocking an additional reward. Reward resurrection point setup. Default feature. The host can choose to resurrect in an area with after death or preset. Kyumok joyfully hugged the notification. Set a resurrection point. This function is amazing. From now on, I can resurrect in places my enemies. This makes my strategies so much more flexible. He held his face and laughed gleefully. Haha, with such a great function. Of course I have to test it right away. He headed straight for the city lord's manor to start. With that, Kyumok turned and walked into the city. Change your clothes first. Of course, the city lord will pay for them. The scene now shifts to the kitchen of the Quach residence. Behind, the chef is tasting the food. Suddenly, a terrifying shadow appears. Kyumok counts. He quickly uses a slingshot, knocking out everyone present. In the kitchen, the window is now broken. Kyumok smiles and jumps inside through the window. He is very happy to reward himself. After so many revivals, he has never celebrated, so today he will enjoy a good meal. Thanks to the big patrons. After saying that, Kyumok begins to focus, enjoying the bowl of noodles on the table, but a strange noise comes from outside. He slurps noodles in his mouth, while eavesdropping on the conversation outside. Through the crack in the door, a dog's nose. Is that sharp? When it's time for meat, it knows to run straight to the kitchen. Turns out outside. Quach Gongzi is leading a big dog. Heading towards the kitchen, Kyumok begins to calculate his next plan. If he acts now, he will be immediately discovered. There might be a servant he hasn't noticed. In the blind spot of the door crack, he sneers coldly, wiping his mouth with a finger. If discovered, so be it. Am I afraid of death? Quach Gongzi angrily kicks the door hard. Then he shouts loudly inside. Are you all deaf inside? Why isn't anyone opening the door? Now, as he turns to talk to his pet. From the crack in the door, a hand reaches out toward him. This beast only knows how to eat. Far away, 2 people are sweeping the yard. When they see Quach Gongzi suddenly disappear, they are utterly shocked at this moment. Quach Gongzi, after being abruptly dragged into the kitchen, he falls to the ground. Kyumok's eyes turn bright red. He exhales a puff of smoke, reaching out toward Quach Gongzi, making him tremble in fear. Quach Gongzi turns pale. Pointing at Kyumok, he shouts, Big Black, bite him for me. But Big Black, after facing Kyumok, collapses, letting him pet the dog like it's a good boy. Q Mok points his weapon straight at Quach Gongzi. Silently, you just need to answer my questions. He coldly approaches him. In this city lord's mansion, how many martial artists have entered the ranks? My father is at the 6th rank, and there are also 2 at the 7th. One of them is Uncle Fu, who just left the city to kill someone for you. The other one is named Chu Wen. There seem to be 5 or 6 people at the 8th, but I don't know about the 9th rank. Chao Mu's spear left a long blood streak on young Master Guo's neck. He continued to question him. Do you know about the martial ultimate or the secret outing of the great Yan Emperor? Young Master Guo was so scared that he kept sweating cold. How do you know that? Without getting a reply, Chao Mu coldly stared at him and threatened, stop wasting words. Get to the point. I'll talk. Under Chao Mu's intimidation, young Master Guo began to recount everything he knew. My father said the emperor might come to Yan City within a month, so he told me not to cause trouble recently. As for the exact time, it depends on the schedule. If I answer now, he will definitely kill me immediately. I have to find a way to lure him out of the kitchen. It's best to lead him to my father. Young Master Guo trembled as he pushed the spear away from his neck. This kind of crucial intelligence, how could I know such details? But I can lead you to my father's study to look for it. There's an original secret letter there. Of course, Chao Mu had already guessed his sinister intention. So you want to lure me to Guoyan's place? I was just worrying he wouldn't make a move. However, I won't let you off so easily. His eyes flashed with killing intent. You set a trap for me, didn't you? I'll kill you now. Finding the secret letter myself is the same. Master Chao, not only can I help you find the secret letter, but I also know about an unparalleled martial arts manual my father. I'll tell you where it's hidden when the time comes. Please don't kill me. Young Master Guo tightly shut his eyes, trembling with fear. Chao Mu's eyes sparkled sharply. He leaned closer to him. What manual are you talking about? In a panic, young Master Guo hurriedly replied to Chao Mu. The manual is called the Martial Saint Spirit Serpent. My father often practices it in secret. It's definitely an unparalleled martial arts manual. Martial Saint Spirit Serpent technique. Just hearing the name sounds impressive. Chao Mu grabbed young Master Guo's collar forcefully. With one hand holding the spear and the other dragging young Master Guo, he walked out. Lead the way. Don't even think of trying anything. The scene shifted to Guoyan's study. Chao Mu was keeping a close watch on young Master while he searched through Guoyan's study. After a while, he took out a letter and a book and handed them to Chao Mu. Something this important. Guoyan didn't lock it up? Other than me, no one dares to enter my father's study without his permission. Chao Mu coldly read the contents of the book. Young Master Guo handed over. What kind of technique is this? It doesn't talk about breathing technique or even punches and weapons. It talks about intuition, training in mysterious intuition techniques to foresee the enemy's moves. How vague. He closed the book and coldly pointed his spear at young Master Guo's. This manual is so basic. Is there a second part to it? Young Master Guo turned pale with fear. I think there might be more in my father's secret vault. If not, should I take you there to check? Chao Mu threatened him. Don't play any tricks. Of course. At this moment, Chao Mu was following young Master Guo out. The two were walking along a corridor. As they walked, young Master Guo was devising a plan to deal. Chao Lin is behind me. If I make any unusual moves, he will make a move. But he cannot see the expression on my face. There must be a way. There must be a way to escape. One of young Master Guo's arms was still tightly held behind his back by Chao Mu. If there's anyone in this mansion who could save me, it would only be Father or He gritted his teeth and glanced back at Chao Mu. Father isn't in the study. He must be in the secret room. As long as I can get to the secret room, I can surely survive. At that moment, a man with a sword appeared in front of young Master Guo. It turned out the person who appeared was Chu Wen. He approached and bowed to young Master Guo. Seizing the moment, while Chao Mu wasn't paying attention, he frantically signaled Chu Wen for help. Something's not right. Chu Wen had also noticed Chao Mu behind young Master Guo. Chu Wen immediately reached for the hilt of. He understood my signal, but he blushed, turned his head shyly, and said, Young Master, please respect yourself. Don't flirt with me with those glances. I, Chu Wen, am over 40 years old, and I don't like men. Nor do I have any intention of a love triangle. What are you talking about? Before young Master Guo could finish his sentence, a spear pierced through his chest. It was then that Chu Wen, young Master Guo, with his last bit of strength, reached out for Chu Wen in a plea for help. "Save me!" he cried as he fell to the ground. Chu Wen immediately shouted, "An assassin!" He quickly drew his sword and charged at Xiao Mu. "The young master has been murdered. There's an assassin." Xiao Mu was unafraid as Chu Wen approached. He gave a cold smile. Then, with great force, he hurled young Master Guo's body at Chu. "If you want him, take him." At that moment, the door behind Xiao Mu was pushed open by a Zen. With great force, he hurled young Master Guo's body at Chu. "If you want him, take him." At that moment, the door behind Xiao Mu was pushed open by a surge of spirit. Xiao Mu became alert and immediately turned his head to see Guo Yan. He was enraged, appearing right behind Xiao Mu. Guo Yan's entire body was enveloped in powerful spiritual energy. His eyes were wide open, his lips tight, and his face covered with bulging veins in fury. Yet Xiao Mu showed no fear. He smiled with great satisfaction, knowing he had achieved his goal. "Finally, I forced you to make a move." Suddenly, his eyes widened in shock. Guo Yan gritted his and struck Xiao Mu with a palm attack. With just one strike, Xiao Mu was sent flying. The kitchen wall was completely destroyed. Xiao Mu crouched down, pressing his hand to the ground to slow himself. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Xiao Mu provocatively taunted Guo Yan. "Guo Yan, if you've got the skills, kill me now." As soon as he finished speaking, Guo Yan charged at him furiously. At that moment, Xiao Mu was stunned, as a kick from Guo Yan landed right in front of him. Guo Yan's kick sent Xiao Mu flying. Xiao Mu's spear struck the ground forcefully, creating a small water-filled crack. The ground around it shattered instantly. Xiao Mu's once unscathed face was now covered in scratches and blood. Yet he seemed unfazed by the pain. Instead, he laughed loudly. "Don't hold back, old man. But if this is your iron shirt technique, such strength won't kill me." Guo Yan, enraged by his taunts, lost his temper and charged at Xiao Mu with a punch. His bloodshot eyes were filled with fury. Guo Yan asked Xiao Mu in anguish, "Why did you kill my son?" The spear in Xiao Mu's hand was firmly grasped by Guo. Xiao Mu spoke righteously, advising him, "Good and evil will always be repaid. The heavens have their justice." He laughed loudly and finished his statement. "If not the heavens, then me." At that moment, Xiao Mu's eyes turned blood red, and the tide of battle shifted dramatically. Guo Yan was stunned as he was knocked down by Xiao Mu. "I came to make you pay," he shouted, pushing himself off the ground. His eyes filled with killing intent as he glared at Xiao Mu. Taking advantage of the moment, Xiao Mu leaped up and thrust his spear at Guo Yan. But Guo Yan narrowly dodged, leaving Xiao Mu wide-eyed, with a cold smirk on his lips. Guo Yan stood back up, his fists clenched as he charged toward Xiao Mu. Xiao Mu countered with another spear strike, but immediately, Guo Yan deflected the weapon with a sweeping motion of his hand. Guo Yan's eyes now brimmed with icy coldness. He issued a chilling threat to Xiao Mu. "After you're dead, Xiao Lin, I'll hang your body at the city gates to bake in the sun to honor my son's spirit." Guo Yan then flung Xiao Mu violently backward. At that moment, a group of soldiers rushed over, shouting, "City Lord!" Xiao Mu, now looking utterly battered, trembled in pain. Blood spilled from his mouth as he forced a wry smile. Gathering all his strength, he uttered his final words. "How satisfying." Guo Yan, startled, drew a soldier's sword and immediately swung it down on Xiao Mu's arms. Xiao Mu gritted his teeth in agony. At that moment, all the tendons in his arms were severed by Guo Yan. Chu Wen, standing behind, witnessed the scene, but seemed unsurprised. The city lord despises insolent brutes. He might cripple all of Xiao Lin's out of sheer spite. Who knows, he might even use 1,000 ways to torture him, making him live in agony. Guo Yan's face twisted with rage. He raised the sword in his hand before him, but before he could strike, Xiao Mu had already darted away. However, due to his severely injured legs, Xiao Mu immediately fell to the ground. Trembling and racked with pain, He struggled to stand. This old thief never intended to kill me outright, but wants to torment me instead. I won't let him have his way. Chow Mu sat on the ground, laughing heartily with heroic spirit. The 1,000-mile wind brings joy. Guo Yan's face bulged with veins as his anger boiled over. He looked at Chow Mu with disdain. You brat, you're really enjoying yourself. Guo Yan was so shocked, he exclaimed. Even now you're reciting poetry? Despite his blood-covered face, Chow Mu could still manage a smile. He suddenly stood up and charged toward Guo Yan. Heavenly demon dissolution. At this moment, Guo Yan was genuinely shocked by Chow Mu. This brat still has a trump card. But Chow Mu's strike was easily dodged by Guo. Before everyone's astonished eyes, Chow Mu dashed toward the edge of the well. It was the final well. Guo Yan quickly realized Chow Mu's intent. Not good, this brat plans to escape. But he couldn't stop Chow Mu in time. At that moment, Chow Mu slammed his head into the well. Chu Wen turned pale, his jaw dropping in astonishment. This man truly has a spirit of unyielding courage. The sword Guo Yan used to sever Chow Mu's tendons was now planted into the ground. Upon seeing the bloodstains on the edge of the well, Guo Yan clenched his fists in fury. Insolent! So many of you, and yet you let a crippled man escape. His face was now brimming with murderous intent. Men, go to the Chow family and execute them all. Leave no one alive. Understood? After issuing his orders, Guo Yan turned to Chu Wen and commanded, Chu Wen, retrieve his body. Alive or dead, I want to see him. Chu Wen bowed and immediately accepted the order. Yes, sir. The scene shifted to the riverbank outside the city. At this moment, Wang Songhe and others were walking along the river with their belongings. Suddenly, Wang Song froze, noticing something. The blood-soaked body of Chow Mu floated past them. After realizing whose body it was, Wang Songhe shouted, It's Chow Lin! Quick, pull him out.